The fall of Secretary of Defense Hagel. And here is our conclusion to begin with, and then we'll give you the motivation. The most prominently named candidate to replace Hagel at the Pentagon is a certain Michele Flournoy, Flournoy. Stop this nomination. Vote no. If you're in the Senate, vote no. If you have a senator, and everybody has two, especially the ones on the Senate Armed Services Committee, the answer to Michele Flournoy wanting to take over the Pentagon is no, no, no. She is a warmonger. She is a mask of General David Petraeus, General John Allen, and their warmonger clique. No. This woman is not qualified. She would be Rumsfeld in a skirt, but even worse, because the strings would be pulled, in this case, by the Bonapartist and enemy of democracy, General David Petraeus. Remember General Petraeus? Remember you guys from MoveOn.org? Well, this is General Petraeus coming back with a vengeance. And we'll describe this in a second. The news, as you know, is that as of last week, Secretary of Defense Hagel, appearing with a Band-Aid on his face next to General Dempsey at the House Armed Services Committee, Secretary Hagel was an opponent of the strategy of bombing Assad and essentially taking the heat off ISIS. That is the policy that Michele Flournoy would be coming in with. Michele Flournoy would be squishy soft on the terrorists from ISIS and Nusra and Al-Qaeda, and she'd be hard as nails on the Assad regime. She's incompetent. She's a fool from this point of view strategically. And you'll remember all of that blather that we've covered over the last two programs. You heard it first here, that allegedly while Obama was out of the country, there was going to be a policy review. And in that policy review, the necessity was to bomb Assad. And of course, that would mean fewer resources to throw at ISIS and Nusra and the Islamic State and all the rest of these terrorist crazies. Remember what Hagel had said. That ISIL is an immediate threat, and dealing with Assad, where we are now, that's not going to put ISIL back in the box. ISIL, interchangeable. You know this drill by now. So remember what he said. The line coming from the warmonger group, and we'll see who they are, was that Assad is a magnet for terrorism. Yeah, he's a magnet because he's been targeted by Qatar, by Turkey, by Saudi, by NATO intelligence, and other pro-terrorist forces. You remember what Hagel had said. There is no change. There is no different direction. We could change Assad today, and that's not going to change all the dynamics. This is from a secret testimony, according to an insider account. Who are you going to replace Assad with? What kind of an army can take on ISIL? According to the AL Monitor and CNN. Now, remember that Hagel had sent a memo to Rice. This is now Susan Rice, the head of the National Security Council. I cringe in saying this, but that's her. And there was a big attempt to give out false leaks, to distort, to completely reverse the content of that critical memo from Hagel to Rice. I think what Hagel was saying is, you got to make up your mind. If you want to fight ISIL, you got to essentially accept the fact that you're working with Assad. And she can't do it because the career of Susan Rice and the career of Samantha Power, and not a few of these others, is based on humanitarian bombing. If you take away the call to overthrow Assad and Putin, of course, but for the moment, it's the Middle East. We think, we hope. If you're going to put out calls to overthrow Assad, that's the essence of the Samantha Power, Susan Rice position. If they're told, zip it and clobber ISIS, then their whole humanitarian bomber dimension, their whole Soros dimension goes out the window. They can't take it. So what has been going on then is simply to pretend that you can do both. And my estimate is that the Hagel memo of late October to Susan Rice was something like that. You've got to decide which it is. You can't have both, and you better support Assad because ISIS is by far the larger threat. Here we go. Here's a commentary. Let's see if we can cite this for you. This is some kind of a, I think he's a libertarian anyway. Daniel McAdams, Hagel out, Assad next. This was obvious. You can see my tweets. I'm sure I beat him to the punch. Hagel's fate was sealed in early October when it was reported that he sent a memo to Rice. We want that memo, by the way. We want that memo leaked. Hey, Cryptome. Hey, WikiLeaks. Hey, anybody. Get us that Hagel to Rice memo, and we'll begin to know more. But in this case, it's described as expressing concern over the Syria policy, especially the policy towards Assad had become incomprehensible. Unable to back down from the humanitarian interventionist demands that Assad must go, the administration simply pretended that Assad and his army on the ground fighting al-Qaeda and ISIS did not exist. Instead, the policy appeared to be one of fighting ISIS and Assad, the enemy of ISIS, at the same time, all the while training yet another tranche of moderate rebels who would presumably fight both ISIS and Assad. And it's absolutely ridiculous. So that's why he was out. We're also told Hagel didn't get along well with Rice and Samantha Power. Well, here it is. They're humanitarian bombers, and along with many, right? The Pentagon is full of contempt for Samantha Power, right? Loopy, loony, right? Humanitarian bomber. It just doesn't work. There were attempts to mediate this with Rice and McDonough. And notice, this all comes shortly after the arrival of General Allen. We have been pointing to Marine Corps General Allen, the disgraced General Allen of Jill Kelly fame, of November 2012 fame, all those emails to that Lebanese socialite woman. Who in God's name is she, and why is she getting hundreds and thousands of emails from General Allen? He's disgraced. How does that guy still have a security clearance? He and Petraeus should have been deprived of their security clearances long ago because of their philandering and God knows what else. We'll be back in a minute. Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. This is Webster Tarpley in Washington, D.C. Remember to keep up with my work. Go to tarpley.net, all the radio, TV, books, articles, other appearances, Twitter feed. It's all there. And let me repeat, for the first time on this program, we are attempting to organize a weekend course, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, in the political economy of the American system. That is to say, philosophical, epistemological method, and economics. This is for the heavy hitters. This is for the long ball hitters. This is for the serious people who want to become revolutionary leaders. There's no other way to put it in today's terms. It's most likely, not 100% guaranteed, but very likely to be on that weekend. I believe it's the 12th, 13th, and 14th of December. And here in Washington, D.C. And if you're interested, go to the Speakers Bureau feature on my website, tarpley.net. Send me an email. There's a contact box there. You don't need to worry about the email address. Just send it to me. If you are interested in coming to this cadre school, 12th, 13th, 14th, and again, it will require effort. It will require some reading in advance. If you want to start reading in advance, get a hold of Surviving the Cataclysm, your guide to the worst financial crisis in American history. There's a 1999 edition. Better is the 2009 post-panic, post-world derivatives panic edition. So we'll be looking forward to that, and we'll have more details the next time around. What we're trying to do now is to essentially assess the degree of interest. So, short course, Political Economy of the American System, Washington, D.C., 12th, 13th, 14th December. Send it to me. Send your contact info to me, and I'll get back to you. Now, remember, when did all this start? We had, and we've written about it and talked about it, newspaper reports in, I guess it was April, saying that Skull and Bones Kerry and Samantha Power, the humanitarian bomber, were interested in attacking the Assad regime. Obama had said no several times, right? Notably the previous August, September, with the fake, staged, hooked up, false flag chemical weapons incident. And that Kerry and Samantha were reaching out for help from leading warmongers. And there were three. There was General Allen, General Petraeus, and General Keane, all part of a warmonger clique, all associated with the neocons. But now we've got to be a bit more specific. We will not do any more to talk only about neocons. We have to talk about Allen. Here's what the Washington Post says about it today, Tuesday, November 25th. The administration officials had leaked that Hagel had written a tough memo to National Security Advisor Rice, blasting the White House strategy for Syria. They don't tell you why. It's because Rice wants to bomb Assad. The squabble came 1 month after Obama appointed a retired general, John R. Allen. John R. Allen, if you don't know who he is, take a look at my website. There's a picture of him up there with his girlfriend, Jill Kelly, and his right-hand running dog, McGurk. John R. Allen, his envoy in charge of assembling a coalition against the Islamic State. Appointing Allen, according to the Washington Post, was a job that some Pentagon officials saw as diminishing Hagel's role. Yeah, sure, of course. The ISIS czar Allen has been working and scheming as per that plan, which goes back to April, which was in the newspapers. I think it was the Wall Street Journal. We'll check it. You can find it on Tarpley.net. And the idea was, we've got to bomb Assad. That's their Johnny One Note. So there's all this stuff about White House micromanagement and so forth. This may have some validity, but this is not the main thing. And you followed with us. Again, I have to claim the best place to follow all this was precisely Tarpley.net. So here we had in the November 15th edition, we had post-election war coup. GOP Chairman Ed Royce of the House Foreign Affairs Committee touts policy review on Syria, in reality a cover for the latest Kerry-Allen-McCain effort to bomb Assad and save ISIS and al-Qaeda. Bid comes with Obama overseas, Pentagon Chief Hagel, NSC's Ben Rhodes, counter that ISIS first is still U.S. policy. So the idea is there were the people who wanted to have the policy review and bomb Syria, and then there was Hagel who said, no, ISIS first. And we quoted, that's the quote we gave you before. And then just this past week, November 22nd, Obama repudiates the Allen Gates Petraeus Kerry campaign to spare ISIS and bomb Assad. Pressure mounting on Turkey's Erdogan to slam terrorists. Well, it's never linear. So this is a reverse. This is bad. Hagel should have hung on. Hagel should not have quit. Obama, of course, is a fool. Obama he lurches from something mildly promising like immigration now to this. And of course, the neocons had been the entire Bergdahl affair, the raving, foaming attacks on Obama over Bergdahl, I think had something to do with the desire to hit Hagel. And Hagel is now our services committee. Secretary Hagel was an opponent of the strategy of bombing Assad and essentially taking the heat off ISIS. That is the policy that Michele Flournoy would be coming in with. Michele Flournoy would be squishy soft on the terrorists from John Allen and their warmonger clique. No, this woman is not qualified. She would be Rumsfeld in a skirt, but even worse, because the strings would be pulled, in this case, by the Bonapartist and enemy of democracy, General David Petraeus. Remember General Petraeus? Remember you guys from MoveOn.org? Well, this is General Petraeus coming back with a vengeance. And we'll describe this in a second. The news, as you know, is that as of last week, Secretary of Defense Hagel, appearing with a Band-Aid on his face next to General Dempsey at the House Arms, the fall of Secretary of Defense Hagel. And here is our conclusion to begin with, and then we'll give you the motivation. The most prominently named candidate to replace Hagel at the Pentagon is a certain Michele Flournoy, Flournoy. Stop this nomination. Vote no. If you're in the Senate, vote no. If you have a senator, and everybody has two, especially the ones on the Senate Armed Services Committee, the answer to Michele Flournoy wanting to take over the Pentagon is no, no, no. She is a warmonger. She is a mask of General David Petraeus, General